Hey, friends, it's Kate Duffy here. I have been mentioning for a couple of months something exciting that I've been working on and I've been planning. This week, I've shot three short but really impactful videos for you. This little mini series, I'm going to cover the shocking statistics in our country around addiction, the truth. I'm going to share the common concerns that I hear from families when I meet them, and most importantly, I'm going to be sharing with you some of my strategies. What's making the difference for the families who work with me? The staggering data in our country says that more than 30 million Americans are suffering from the abuse of drugs and alcohol. The economic loss, the societal harm to our country is valued at $1.45 trillion. Never mind the heartache and the angst on the millions of families this is happening to. Something drastic has to change with how we're supporting and treating drug and alcohol addiction. Only 13% of people who struggle are getting help. So of this 30 million, only 13% are actually getting the help they need. These people are getting younger and younger. But my data at Tipping Point is telling me that there is something you can do. And that's what I'm here for. That's why I keep showing up. There are over 240,000 deaths each year in the United States due to drug overdose and alcohol poisoning. I bounce out of bed every day doing this work, knowing that I'm going to do everything possible today to make sure one more family is not a statistic. Since 2013, I've helped literally thousands of people and their families escape that hold that addiction has over them. I'm doing this as an interventionist, a recovery coach, a trainer, a facilitator of many, many recovery conversations. The path for me to healing was not a walk in the park. I created Tipping Point so you can be free from this trap that I was caught in, that fed the lies and fueled my addiction and kept my family terrified. I want you to be an active part at the table of your loved one's recovery instead of wondering and hoping that they'll figure it out. I want you to have the kind of support that my family never had when I was drinking over 4 bottles a day. I want you to plug in, lean in, and hear from the families we're helping. They've stopped the chaos. I want your loved one to have the best chance of success because you know what? They deserve that. You deserve that. When I was in the emergency room with a 0.30 blood alcohol level, no one in my family knew I was there. No one knew how bad I was struggling, and no one knew what I needed for help. That's wrong. They didn't know because the addict, the person struggling, isn't going to tell them. They believed my lies or they distanced from my anger and my pain. If they did know or have any clue about what to do, they didn't know the first step. They didn't know how to deal with how they were feeling and how I was feeling. When they confronted me, I would just deny, gaslight them, shred them. I would lie. But I knew what I was doing while I was doing it, yet I also knew I was hurting the people I love. It was torture. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop drinking and I couldn't stop justifying and rationalizing. Do you know the tipping point for someone's willingness and their wellness to happen is when the people around them stop plugging into the lies, stop believing the lies, and stop responding to the lies. When we do that, we plug into the addiction. When we unplug, we can stop the cycle. Let me explain. Our loved ones are self-destructing, no doubt. They're medicating mental health, right? They're medicating the inside stuff. When you argue back, you're just self-destructing with them. You're jumping into the hot soup. On the flip side of that, many people tell me they have a lot of compassion for their loved one. They understand it to be a mental health issue. But what I see happening in many of those families where compassion is leading is that can mistakenly allow, that can mistakenly let slide. The idea here is not to confront and fight the addiction and not to have compassion and allow. There's something in the middle, and that's what I want to teach to you, because the definition of insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That's what addiction is. And that's what families usually find themselves trapped in. So I want to teach you how to have a different conversation with your loved one. First, you need to understand, what does addiction sound like? What does it look like? What does recovery sound like and look like? So you can go ahead and grab a piece of paper and make 2 columns: addiction and recovery. You can also call it fear and love, pain and thriving. It's the same thing. Addiction sounds like denying, justifying, rationalizing, compartmentalizing, secrets, hiding, minimizing, blaming. That's addiction. Okay. On the other side, recovery sounds like honesty, taking self responsibility, accountability, open mindedness to change, willingness, vulnerability, surrender. Now, once you have these 2 columns, here's what I need you to do, or I suggest you do. Stop plugging into the addiction. So if you see any of the items showing up, or the characteristics showing up of denying, lying, rationalizing, minimizing, if you try to argue with that, you know what's going to happen, right? It's not going to stop. Because here's what we all wish would happen. We're going to argue with the addiction or the frequency that's coming out of your loved one of denying, justifying, minimizing, lying. You want to just come at that because it makes sense. And you want to argue with it. But no one's ever really going to look at you and say, you know what? You're right. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'll stop. I mean, if they do say that, they probably mean it. Most likely you're not going to hear that. But if somebody does say that, then in that moment they want to stop. That's actually a really good sign, but they can't. That's the definition of addiction. You can't stop. You do it despite wanting to at times. So I want you to stop responding to, just don't respond to anything that comes out of your loved one that sounds or looks like addiction. Respond when you hear the other side, open-mindedness, willingness, accountability. Respond to that. Now, does that mean you'll have less conversation and less contact? Absolutely. It starts here. It starts by stopping. It starts by stopping, plugging in to the frequency of addiction. There's more, but you got to just start there. And let me tell you what's going to happen when you stop plugging into the addiction. You're going to feel like you go from a traffic jam where the horns are honking and it's loud and you're clustered. You're going to feel like you're driving on the back country road. You have the power to unplug from that. And peace of mind, harmony, relief, it's possible for you. Stop waiting for the one that has the addiction to stop, and you start the stop. You start right there by stopping plugging in. This is a recovery conversation. This is me teaching you how to create change. And if you're still here listening, that tells me you want to understand and you want a new way. I'm sure this brought up some feelings for you. I would love to hear from you. Pop some comments in the chat here or in the thread, or send me a direct message. I want to know what landed with you about what I said. What are you willing to try or commit to for the next 24 hours? I'm going to be sharing another video and then another video over the next couple of days. I'm going to share some of the most common concerns I get from families about the recovery process. I'm also going to be telling you some of the most moving client success stories. But before I go, if you're still listening, you're in a conversation with me. Give me some feedback. Drop a comment. Let me know any insights you gained from this recovery conversation. And please, if you know someone else, I'm sure you do, who would benefit from this conversation, share it with them. Let's spread it out. Let's ripple it out. Let's unplug from the chaos and ripple out a solution. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to seeing you soon.